Good evening. My name is Tyler Bradshaw. I am the public address announcer for the Hamilton Big Blue. So excited to be with you all here tonight for the 22nd class, the 2018 induction for the Hamilton Athletic Hall of Fame. We've got a number of wonderful inductees tonight that we're going to be able to introduce to all of you and celebrate together. But before we begin, we are going to have an invocation and a prayer. So if you have already started eating those salads, you might want to ask for forgiveness during this period of time. But we're going to invite Jack Young to the podium for our invocation. Jack?
You can remain seated while we have a word of prayer. Dear God, we come before you thanking you for the many blessings you bestow upon us. We thank you for this nation in which we live and the many freedoms that we enjoy and take for granted day by day. We thank you for the Hamilton school system, which has prepared these young people that we're going to induct tonight into the Hall of Fame to go out into the world and be successful in whatever they do. We thank you for that and for the dedicated teachers they still have in the system. Now, Lord, we just thank you for those that have performed for us over the years and the many times that they've provided us with entertainment on the court, football field, and other areas. Now, just bless this food to our bodies and to thy service, for it is in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jack. Before we get away from that dinner too far, let's give a nice round of applause to our caterers for tonight's event. 2 women in a kitchen. It's the second year we've been here at the Fitness Center. And the food is just wonderful. They do such an excellent job year in and year out. I've already hopped up on like 8 of those little desserts. I kept passing it around to myself at our table each time. Nobody noticed. Before we move on, let me thank a few other folks. There are a number of individuals who contribute to this program to help make it happen each and every year. I just want to read through those names. They're also in your program. But if you want to save your applause for the end of that list, then we'll say a big thank you that way. Melvin Moody Baker, Jackie Blount, Bernie Griesinger, George Johnson, Jostens, Jeff Tanner, Life Touch Photography, John Smith, Jack Young, Bill Dinger, Ken Merle, Bobby Lakes, Jim Kernahan, Harry Bradbury, Larry Bowling, John Smith, Larry Wood, and Jill O'Hara. Let's give them a big round of applause. I also want to make sure that I thank Steve Caldwell and TV Hamilton, Hometown Television with a personal touch. Now, there is a little adjustment to this year's program that has got me slightly nervous. In the past, TV Hamilton has always recorded these. They've put them online. I tell Steve what embarrassing parts or things I screwed up that I want edited out, and nobody knows the difference. This year, we are live on Facebook. So inductees, keep that in mind, both in what you say and how long you say it. I think Facebook has a limit, okay, and they will shut us down. So special thanks to Steve. TV Hamilton always does such a nice job. And the best part about this, he will put all of this on YouTube. So all your coworkers back home who do not believe that you actually got inducted into a Hall of Fame, you can send it out on the listserv. Show everybody. Also want to thank Beth Art Printing, who put together the programs for us. Those are wonderful to have and take home, so thank you for that. And one other person who doesn't get a whole lot of recognition for putting this event together and doing all the work, and I know there's a lot of people and you're always going to leave somebody out, but Tyler Ballou, who's the Assistant Athletic Director at Hamilton, really does a lot of work on this event. So let's give Tyler a nice round of applause for all the work he does. And the other man who helps organize this event, his boss, the athletic director, please welcome him to the stage, Todd Grimm.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to be part of the 2018 Hamilton High School Athletic Hall of Fame. As athletic director of the Hamilton City Schools, I have the honor and great pleasure, and this is the 5th year I get to do this, to present to 2 deserving Hamilton High students the Coach Bill Sharp Scholarship. Gotten to know Coach Bill's son and learned a lot about Coach Bill. Never knew him personally. I remember my first year here, it was kind of difficult to come up and talk about somebody I never met, but in talking to his son, I feel like I do know him now. So just going to read a little bit about Coach Sharp. Coach Bill Sharp was a teacher and coach in Hamilton for 45 years. He was an active in the Hamilton Parks and Recreation Department during that time, as well as a fitness instructor at the Hamilton Central YMCA for nearly 20 years following his retirement from teaching. As a high school and college student, as everyone referred to him as Coach, he participated in a variety of sports. He was a member of a state championship basketball team in high school and also excelled as a member of the track and baseball teams. As a student at The Ohio State University, he was a member of the track and wrestling teams. Coach Sharp graduated from Ohio State in 1928 and moved to Hamilton in 1930, where he spent over 60 years impacting the lives of thousands of students and athletes. He was known to everyone as Coach, and his devotion to sports and fitness was overshadowed only by his desire to help people be successful and realize their potential. Coach Sharp strongly emphasized a commitment to academic excellence, competing with honor, and displaying good sportsmanship at all times. Although small in stature, his actions and positive attitude cast a large shadow as a role model for generations of Hamilton youth. The gymnasium at Garfield Middle School is named in his honor, and he was inducted into the Hamilton City Schools Athletic Hall of Fame in 1999. The Coach Sharp Scholarship Award is awarded each year to one senior male student and one senior female student from Hamilton High School. The recipients are chosen based on the following criteria. Student must have earned at least 2 varsity letters during their time at the high school. Student must have maintained a minimum grade point average of 3.0. Student must display outstanding sportsmanship during athletic competition, and student must display outstanding citizenship through community service. The Coach Sharp Scholarship Award is a financial award made payable to the recipient's college of choice during their freshman year. Additionally, the recipients will be recognized here at the Hall of Fame luncheon or dinner. So at this time, I would like to bring up with me the recipients of the Coach Bill Sharp Award, Ms. Taryn Lauer and Mr. Jacob Metzler. Taryn was a 4-year varsity soccer letter winner for our girls soccer team who had made great strides during her 4 years of competition. She also played basketball for 2 years, was a member of Student Council, National Honor Society, and Young Life. She graduated in the top 20, and she was 8th in her class overall. She now attends Miami University, where she is majoring in education. Taryn Lauer. Jacob Metzler was a 3-year varsity football winner. He played center for the Big Blue. He was a member of Leader at Blue, which is a program that basically we bring kids in and we talk to them about leadership and what it means to be Hamilton Big Blue. He was also a member of HYPE, which went into the elementary schools to work with elementary age children. Currently, Jacob is attending Hanover College, where he's a member of their football team. Jacob Metzler. We want to thank the Sharp family for their generous donation to our students and their continued support of the Big Blue. Thank you.
All right, congratulations to both Taryn and Jacob. Jacob, I had no doubt you played football the second you stepped foot on this stage. All right, so we're going to go ahead and induct our 22nd class of the Hamilton Hall of Fame. This is the 2018 class, yes. But before we do that, I want to make sure we take a moment and acknowledge any of our previous inductees, 21 classes that came before this. So if you are a previous inductee, we'd ask that you please stand and let us recognize you at this time. Always great to see so many familiar faces return for this event. All right, so here's how this is going to work. Inductees, I'm going to read your bio. You can come up here. You'll just come right up here to the side of the stage. Now, when you give your induction speech, it is very important that you stand right behind this podium, and it's important for two specific reasons. The first of those, we want all those live viewers on TV Hamilton's Facebook page to be able to see you and watch you. The other reason is, if you talk too long, there is a sumo wrestler behind this curtain. He will run out and he will spear you from behind because nobody wants to listen to you talk too long. Got it? We're on a time limit. There's a politician in here somewhere as well, so I've made note of that. Okay? But make sure, I think we only have the hall until like next Tuesday, so let's not have this thing run too long, okay? When you finish with your speech in a timely fashion, once you exit the stage, if you'll come down to this side, I believe Tyler Blue, our Assistant Athletic Director, will meet you and present you with your plaque and then a small gift and a token of our appreciation. Now, we have 11 inductees this year because there was a tie in the voting. So that means that we induct 11 instead of 10. And the first of these inductees from the class of 2007 is William Billy Allen. William Billy Allen was a standout basketball player for the Big Blue. While playing for his father and fellow Hall of Fame member, Coach Larry Allen, Billy recorded over 1,000 points, 400 rebounds, and 200 assists. His career total of 1,071 points is still good for 7th on the career scoring list. Billy earned several distinctions for both his academics and athletics, as he was a 4-time All-Academic Award recipient, 3-time All-Conference selection, 2-time All-State Honorable Mention, as well as 2007 GMC and All-Butler County Player of the Year. Billy continued his basketball career at the University of Albany, where he earned a full scholarship. While playing for the Great Danes, he was selected as a 2-time America East Conference All-Academic member, appointed twice to the U-Albany President's Award for Leadership, and served on the university's Intercollegiate Athletics Advisory Board. Billy earned a BS in Physics, a BA in Mathematics with cum laude honors, and a Master of Science in Nanoscale Engineering. I have no idea what that is. Do you? We can talk after? See, that's the thing. I don't know if I want to know what it is, right? Does it pay a lot of money? Okay, then it's fine. It sounds great to me. I love it. Billy resides in New Hampshire with his wife, Caitlin, and their 3 children, Grace, Liam Jr., and Shepard, where he works as a semiconductor engineering manager. Ladies and gentlemen, our first inductee from the class of 2007, William Billy Allen.
I'm going to try to do 2 things tonight for you guys. Not cry and not talk as long as my dad. So hopefully you guys will be happy with that. So good evening. I'd first like to start by thanking the committee for the induction. It really means a lot to me and my family. As I look out in this crowd, I see a lot of familiar faces, but most of all I just see family. Growing up in Hamilton, it was family to me. So I first like to start to thank with a special family where actually basketball started, and that's the Beltons. Especially Craig, where he was my first coach, and it was fun driving up to Dayton 4 or 5 times a week with Clay and just terrorizing teams, beating them by 60, 70 points. You know, it was a lot of fun. So, you know, and all the people and the families that, you know, helped shape me and, you know, help me be the person I am today. You know, Daniel and, you know, and the Burtisses, Dottie and Jim Bruck, you know, you guys are great. Mrs. Kruger, you know, everybody, Jake Fath and his mom, you know, Mrs. Greavy. There's a lot of people that you know, touched my life and my heart. So, you know, thank you. A big thanks to John Smith on the nomination. You know, I really want to thank you for, you know, letting me run around as a kid, you know, running through all those drills, you know, from an early age, you know, ball going out on the court, things like that. It meant a lot, and, you know, I took it all in, so thank you. I want to send I don't think he's here tonight, but a special thanks to Grady Morris. He was actually my first Hamilton coach, and I'm sure he had my dad breathing down his neck every other day. So, you know, thanks to Grady, you know, did a great job. Another big thanks to Tom Vesley, Tim Reed, Timmy Robinson, Brad Curlin. You know, those were the guys that were kind of my sounding board through the 4 years at Hamilton, and I think they talked my dad out of letting him transfer me to Moeller or St. X my freshman year after all of our issues. So, you know, thanks to those guys. You know, next I'd like to thank my family. You know, Pam and Bill, you guys have been great through everything. They went to Italy with me my freshman year. You know, let me live my dream overseas and play some basketball. So thank you, Buddy. You know, he's the reason why. You know, I said I was going to try not to, but anyway, I have the career that I do today. You know, made me love physics. You know, and also again, kind of kept me sane through all the tough times. You know, with my dad and I. It was a fast speech, I promise you. My sisters and brother, you know, Heather, Holly, Pete, you know, you guys were great. You guys cheered me on, had my back. Thank you. Obviously, it goes without saying, you know, thank you to my wife, Kate. I love you. My kids, Grace, Liam, and Shepard, for coming out. And Holly's husband, Joe, you know, coming down. My in-laws coming all the way from New York. Thank you. That was those guys. So lastly, I want to thank my parents. My mom literally put her life on hold for me so that I could live out my dream. I won't breathe deep like my dad does when he starts crying. So, you know, and more importantly, she made me, you know, study every night. You know, do all my homework and things like that, and that's really what paid off, right? Because, you know, every kid has a dream to go play in the NBA, NFL, all that stuff, you know, but the reality is you need to do your work, you know, you need to go to school, and, you know, those were the things that, you know, really paid off, and to be honest with you, she was the one that no matter if we won or lost by however many points, she was the one that was, you need to work harder, you need to do this more, you need to do this better, so she was the tough one, you know. I'm sure Dale knows that, right? All the times at Little League, so, you know, thank you. Now my dad. You know, one of the things that he showed me early on was that the team is more important than any one player, and I think that's one of the most important things that he showed me. You know, I was no different than anybody else, and he made everybody aware of that. Compose. Thank you for teaching me how to play good basketball, right? It's not all about points. My favorite thing to do was to pass the ball. You know, I had great teammates. You know, they scored when they needed to. You know, we won a lot of games. It was a lot of fun. But, you know, just the team atmosphere was awesome, and he really taught me that. And I know we don't always see eye to eye, but I am listening to you, whether you think I am or not. So thank you. This is a tough one right here. Don't know if I'll be able to say it. The only thing that would make this night better is if my grandmother was here. Because as most of you know, she was my #1 fan. And I miss her. And I just want to thank her. So, anyways, so I asked you to think of a special time. You know, and as I think of a special time at Hamilton High, I can't pick out any one thing, right? I grew up there. I spent 18 years in that school, running the halls, terrorizing the teachers, everything like that. So, you know, from the time I was born to when I was graduating, I lived at Big Blue. I miss it. And there were a lot of great times to win a state championship with my dad for the community. I mean, I'm sure most of you, you know, that was a great experience for you too. But to spend half my life in a school a family, a community, was really special. And, to now be the third generation of my family to be inducted in this Hall of Fame, it really means a lot to my family, this town, the school, and I just thank you to everybody. So I wasn't as short as I liked, almost kind of cried. So thanks again, and God bless. And now I'm going to Disney World tomorrow, so thank you.
Billy, you said one of your goals was to talk shorter than your dad did when he was inducted. You had another 3 hours and 27 minutes on the clock. I got to give Larry a hard time. Now, I will say your dad had some stories queued up that your family vetoed right before I was supposed to come on stage. I had a whole lot more material than that nanoscale engineering thing. So afterwards, we'll make sure that we get those on the after show, because there were some nicknames you were called as a child. Rather interesting. So growing up with Larry, I have no doubt those were encouraged. Yeah. Our next inductee from the class of 1975 is Joe Ballou. Joe was a 2-year varsity pitcher and infielder for the Taft Tigers. Playing under Coach Joe Urso and with fellow Hall of Fame members Kent McCormick and Greg Johnson, Joe was the opening day pitcher both his junior and senior seasons and helped lead the team to a GMC title in 1975. He then went on to Belmont College, where he played for 4 seasons, helping the Rebels win conference titles 3 of his 4 years. During his time at Belmont, Joe also played alongside fellow Hall of Famer Ron Spurlock. While pitching for the Rebels, Joe earned a career .722 win percentage, which still ranks 3rd in school history, and a career ERA of slightly over 3, which still places him 10th in school history at Belmont. He graduated with a bachelor's in business administration degree and has been employed by U.S. Bank in Hamilton for 39 years. And I know you're thinking what I'm thinking. You must have started when you were like 4, right? Because look at you. You're looking good, brother. You're looking good. Your son's my boss for Hamilton. Yes, this is coming out of your time. That's correct. Joe is a 2005 recipient of the Hamilton Heritage Award for Outstanding Community Service. He is also a 2011 inductee into the Junior Achievement Greater Butler County Business Hall of Fame. Joe resides in Hamilton with his wife, Susan. Together, they have 2 children, Dr. Sarah Ballou Cox and Tyler. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1975, Joe Ballou.
Thank you very much, Tyler. I know you were courtside last night at the basketball game, and I do believe Hamilton beat Fairfield. Tyler's a Fairfield grad. I know he doesn't want to tell people that. So Nate Mahan and I decided that with that Hamilton victory last night, that 2-minute stuff, it's out the door. And obviously Billy, he blew that out. And also, I know the guy that's in charge of this event, that Tyler Ballou guy, he is my son still, so, Let's get started. Good evening. Congratulations to the other 10 inductees and their families on our induction to the 22nd class of the Hamilton City School District Athletic Hall of Fame. My thanks to the High School Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee, AD Todd Grimm, Assistant Athletic Director Tyler Ballou, and all the committee members for my selection. On behalf of the 1975 Taft Tigers, and I got some friends and best friends in the crowd that are 75 grads, and all the teammates I played with, some are here tonight, I am honored, humbled, and proud to be inducted. Special thanks go out to Jack Young for my nomination. I've known Jack for probably over 55 years, and I think it's the first time he's ever listened to my sister. Jack, thank you very much. My sister, thanks for thinking of your brother. Jack is responsible for the Hamilton to Nashville, Tennessee, Belmont College sports pipeline, starting back in 1966. My brother followed Jack down there to play baseball at Belmont in 1967, and I went down there in 1975. Great place. Nashville is a great town, and Belmont was a wonderful experience. And it was great to have the opportunity to leave Hamilton get our degrees in college, and further our sports careers. It was quite special to be told of my nomination by my son, Tyler. That meant a lot to me, Tyler, when you called me into your office, told me to sit down, you had something to tell me. Boy, that's quite a shock. What a role reversal, right? This is a great event. I'm glad you didn't vote for me as many times as you told me. He told me he didn't vote at all. And I love you. Let me quickly introduce my family. They're not going to stand, but my wife, Susan, my daughter, Sarah, her husband was unable to be here. Tyler and his wife, Brittany, they're both at the high school. My sister, Nancy Falmer, from the class of 64. She was there when they won the state, Larry, in 1962. And her friend, Tim Hoskins. My brother, Bob, from the class of 67's in the back from Nashville. Thanks for making the trip up today, Bobo. My mother-in-law, Marilyn Smith, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Amy and Peter Chadwick. I'd also like to give a special shout-out to my uncle, Dave Ballou. He's really Mr. Hamilton. And Dave's daughter, Sally Ballou Streeter, is the first Ballou member of the High School Hall of Fame in 2009 for playing tennis. In my opinion, sports prepares you for life. There's winning and losing, but there's also how you play the game. And I really think that it does prepare you for life because it gets you ready for partners, teammates, collaboration, partnership, hard work, and also having fun. I started playing so long ago, Westside Little League didn't have T-ball, didn't have coach pitch, didn't have minor league. You didn't start playing until you were 10 years old. There were 100 10-year-olds that got cut when I tried out. Only 80 got to play. My parents were very supportive, like Billy talked about, in my background. My mom went to work when I went to school, so I'd be able to go to college. And my dad worked all the time, so when he showed up at game, you better pay attention and perform. Dad was in charge of getting me psyched up, telling me how to finesse people, and having mental toughness. And I really think that's how I grew up, kind of having ice water in my veins. But the fundamentals, the respect, and really how to do this and how to do that, and learning the game, started in the backyard at 1360 Sunset Drive. My brother Bob and his friends, Hall of Famer Greg Servell, Gary Kraft, Grady Morris, Mark Henry, a lot of those Taft Tigers in the late 60s. They're the ones that taught me how to do it. Greg and my brother Bob were extremely difficult to play with. They'd say, let's play football. They'd kick off. I'd go down one way. When I come back up, I ended up in the bushes. And I went in the house crying. That's how they made me tough. When my brother and I played wiffle ball, and he's 7 years older, he'd say, it's a nice hot day. Take your shirt off. You can bat first. First pitch, he beamed me in the back. I go in the house with a big welt. And we had a lot of fun back in those days, and it was always great to learn by osmosis and watch all his friends play, and we had a ball. But my brother taught me I couldn't throw a curveball. He said, you can't break a pane of window with your fastball because it's really too slow. He said, it won't measure on a jugs gun. He said, I'm going to teach you how to throw a knuckle curve and a knuckleball and a changeup. So I could pitch every day, and that was very helpful. And to this day, guys like Jim Tracy and Doug Hicks, they were still the toughest guys to get out for me, but they were always very complimentary of the fact that I could throw that knuckleball. We had a great time playing for Coach Joe Urso at Hamilton, winning the GMC my senior year. And I actually played more infield than pitching my senior year because we were loaded. We had a really good team. And it was just great to have those teammates and play by the side of guys like Greg Johnson, Kent McCormick. He was a heck of a catcher. Kent would never let that knuckleball get past him. Belmont was great, playing beside 6 Hall of Famers in my Belmont career, 3 of them that came in with me as freshmen as well, and winning 3 conference titles. That was exciting, seeing all that camaraderie in college. And graduating and coming back to town and working and being able to spend your career in your hometown and 10 minutes from work, that's what's exciting for me. And last night brought it full circle. I spent 5 years coaching summer baseball with my good friend Dale Mahan, and seeing about half of our team show up last night at the Hall of Fame basketball game, and seeing them there with their spouses and their families and their children. And that just shows us that, Dale, we did a pretty good job not only coaching them, but also preparing them for life. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for the induction into the Hall of Fame. And I'd also like to say once again that to my wife and family, we love you all and thank you very much.
Our next inductee from the class of 1932 is Dr. Harold Biedenbender. And Harold tonight is going to be represented by his great niece, Pam Rouse, and speaking on the family's behalf as well is Jack Young. But let me first tell you a little bit about Dr. Biedenbender. Dr. Harold Biedenbender excelled on the golf course for 4 years while at Hamilton High School. In his senior year, he was the medalist at the Ohio State High School Tournament in Columbus. He continued his academic career at a fine institution, Miami University, where he was a pre-medicine major. He then attended medical school at the University of Cincinnati. Upon graduation, he served in the U.S. Army in England as a doctor at the 183rd General Hospital for 3 years, serving over 200 injured soldiers each and every single day. Following his deployment, he served 1 year in the Surgeon General's office at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. When he returned to Hamilton, he opened up a medical practice, serving the community before returning to surgical school. He then ran a surgical practice in the First National Building for 30 years. Dr. Biedenbender was always passionate about the game of golf, playing frequently in his spare time. He won the Hamilton City Golf Tournament 3 consecutive years and added a 4th title later on, while also winning the Elks Club Tournament many times. So once again, on behalf of the Hamilton City School District, in honor of Dr. Harold Biedenbender, our next inductee, please help me welcome to the podium Jack Young.
First of all, I would like to introduce Pam Rouse and her husband Joe. If you'd please stand. Pam is his great niece. Her dad was John Swartz, and his wife, Luann Geckler Swartz, is still living, but she's over at Berkeley and could not make it tonight. And Pam saw him every morning. Her mother used to cook him breakfast before he went to work every morning. The other person I'd like to introduce is Marvin Brar. Marvin Brar was a basketball referee. He refereed many years, but he was a right-hand man to Dr. Biedenbender in Fort Hamilton Hospital, and he worked there for 42 years. His wife, Frida, ran Dr. Biedenbender's office uptown. She was his nurse, and after he retired, she went with Dr. Carr and did the same thing for him. Tim Gillespie is another guy who runs Gramco, that in Dr. Biedenbender's last days and his wife's last days, why he became kind of their general manager of their affairs. He was at the reception last night. I tried to get some of these people to do this job, but Dr. Biedenbender was born during the 1913 flood at Mercy Hospital. His dad was on the other side of the river, and it was about 3 days before he could get across the river to see him. They kept women in a hospital for a whole week at that time. Dr. Biedenbender, when I used to haul him after he couldn't drive anymore, he lived on the Houston Road, and I lived in 7 Mile, and every Thursday I got him and took him over to Gramco to the back room. He told me many stories on the way. He had had a stroke, but he still had a good mind. He told me that he saw me when I was 2 days old. In 1930, I was born at home. My dad made homebrew. He came to buy homebrew. And he said my dad always wanted the bottles back. My brother John was 1 year behind him in school, 1933, and he told me that sometimes that homebrew didn't make it to his daddy's. He and John took care of it. Dr. Biedenbender graduated from Hamilton High in 1932. We took him into the Butler County Hall of Fame in 1992. He'd never told me much about this, but we had a comment in there that he was medalist at the Ohio State Golf Tournament in 1932. And I asked him about this. He said he played 4 years of golf. Lou Hurt was the basketball coach, and he also coached golf. But he said we had to furnish our own balls and own transportation to the meet. They didn't take very good care of us like they do today. He graduated in 1932. His brother had a car dealership over on Main Street, right across the bridge, Chrysler dealership. He worked there 3 years. He went home one night to his family, his dad, mother, brother, sister. Says, I don't like this job and I'm quitting. I'm going to school to be a doctor. They all laughed at him, made fun of him, except one person, his mother. She said, Hal, if that's what you want to do it. He went to Miami University. He started in 1935, graduated in 1939. And then he went to UC to medical school. Graduated in 1943. Went into the service. I said, where'd you serve your basic training at? Said, they never gave me any basic training. They needed doctors. And he had been deferred to finish school, sent him to England. He was at a hospital over there. He told me that they had over 200 people a day coming in, wounded guys. He said, I did more than just a regular medical doctor. If there was surgery to be done, he did it. Okay, he came back. Well, I'll tell you this story because he told me. My brother John was his 82nd Airborne. He was a paratrooper. He started in North Africa, an invasion of Sicily, Anzio beachhead. He went over to England waiting for D-Day. Slid into second base and broke his leg. Probably saved his life because he lost a lot of men on D-Day, the 82nd Airborne Division. He went to visit Doc at the Army hospital where he was stationed. Doc went to his superior officers, told him, a lifelong friend from Hamilton, Ohio, I want him to eat in the officers' quarters tomorrow. The guy said, you know the rules, he's a sergeant, he can't eat in there. Doc figured, the heck with you. He went to the top dog at the hospital, gave him the story. And he said, not only is he going to eat with us, you and he are going to sit at my table tomorrow at dinner. He said the guy over him gave him a rough time as long as he was stationed there, but he says, I didn't care. Came back home, opened a practice, medical practice, over at Park Avenue and C Street. There's an apartment there now. He had a good family practice going. Came home again to his family and said, I'm going to close my practice. He said, I'd done a lot of surgeries. The family doctors wasn't for me. He took advantage of the GI Bill and went back to school, became a surgeon. He did his internship at the Deaconess Hospital and Children's Hospital. In 1956, he opened a practice in the First National Bank in Hamilton and retired 30 years later. He always said he wanted to get me on the operating table. He never got me there. He was like another brother to me. First dog I ever had, he breeded dogs, gave me a Cocker Spaniel. So I was coaching at Garfield High School, and I went to see Dr. Boone. He was our team doctor. And he said, I think you got hemorrhoids. You need to go see a surgeon. I walk over to Dr. Biedenbender's office, and Frida, his secretary, I said, I need an appointment. She says, sit here, we'll work you in. I go in there, and he says, who told you I had hemorrhoids? Dr. Boone. He happened to be the county coroner. He says, why in the world would you go to a guy that looks at dead people all day long? You got an infection. I said, I go to him because he don't charge me anything. He looked at me and he said, you're like that brother of yours, John. Says, I've been a surgeon now for so many years. And he says, as his wife, Rose, gets sick, he gets sick, or his two daughters, Nancy or Karen Ann, get sick, he brings them to me because I don't charge him. When he retired in 1986, he got a family doctor for my brother and his family because he says, I'm losing my license. I can't give you free service any longer. Okay, when he got sick, was in the hospital, Tim over at Gramco said he wants to see you. I went to see him in the hospital. His wife was there that day. he looked at me and he said, "Do you know the Irish prayer?" I said, "I don't know it, but I've heard of it." "Helen, get a pencil and paper, write it down." That was the day that he told me I was going to have his funeral. Later on, I had his wife. And I'm going to close today with the Lord's Prayer, the Irish prayer. "May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be ever at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and rains fall short upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Amen."
Thank you very much, Jack. Usually it's like our 7th or 8th inductee before we start mentioning hemorrhoids, so we got to that pretty early tonight. If you had the hemorrhoid spot on the bingo card, you are a winner. Our next inductee from the class of 2000 is Adam Grissom. As some of you may know, I actually got my announcing start at Miami Hamilton for Daryl Grissom, who's been the coach there for many years and then announced with the Hamilton Joes. And Adam, I had so many good stories queued up about you, and then they told me this was live, and I had to cross off every single one of them. But the Grissom family, in all honesty, has been personally very special to me. When my father passed away in 2013, the Grissom family, including Adam, Daryl, and Jill, were some of the first people there to console my family and help us during a time of grief. And Adam, for all the good stories I have, that one's always the best. And I think of you and your family very highly. Adam was a key offensive threat for the Big Blue baseball team. While playing for fellow Hall of Fame member Coach Dan Bowling, Adam was selected to the first team GMC 3 times while helping his team to 3 conference titles in 98, 99, and 2000. During this stretch, Adam batted over .450 each season, which helped him earn recognition in the East-West All-Star Game, as well as the title of Team MVP his senior year. Adam was also selected to participate in an invitation-only tryout for the Chicago White Sox. Adam was a 3-time recipient of the GMC Academic Award. Adam continued his athletic career at Elon University before transferring to Miami University Hamilton, where he earned a degree in secondary social studies education. While at Miami Hamilton, Adam earned the Team MVP award 2 times and played on 2 league championship teams. He served as the varsity head baseball coach at Northwest High School, as well as an assistant coach for Miami University Hamilton and the Hamilton Joes, where he is currently the head coach. In 2016, also won a championship in the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. We're not going to talk about last year, but in 2016, league championship. Adam has a master's degree in special education and works as a social studies teacher at Fairfield High School, where he is also a varsity assistant coach for the baseball team. He resides in Hamilton with his wife, Carrie, and their 2 children, Kara and Avery. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 2000, Adam Grissom.
Thank you, Tyler. First and foremost, I definitely want to thank the committee. When I got the phone call, I was definitely surprised. I didn't expect this honor to be bestowed on me, but it was, and definitely honored to be inducted this evening. Also, my family, my dad, my mom, my sisters. Growing up, especially my mom, she had a lot to deal with my dad and I. He pushed me really hard to excel on the baseball field, and there'd be nights it could be 0 degrees outside. We'd be out back in the garage and hitting off the tee and making sure that I was getting my 200 swings a day. So definitely helped on that offensive side and getting those honors throughout those years. Mom, thank you again. Like I said, we're usually either in the garage or hitting or at the baseball field, or I was following dad around on the softball field and being the bat boy and learn things like how to pick up dip off the field and put it in your mouth and get mom upset. But beyond that, it was definitely a good experience. It taught me how to play the game, but learned a couple extra things as well. So Also, during my time at Hamilton, there's no specific story that I would like to share or anything like that, but Dan Bowling, Joey Lewis, Danny Reed, the guys that coached me while I was there, it was definitely a great experience. Going to state Final Four, missing out by a year, being on the state championship was unfortunate due to injury, but just looking back on that and the experiences and the friendships and the just the camaraderie that I was able to have during that time period was definitely exciting. Going on from that, my family, Carrie, Kara, and my littlest one, Avery, thank you for allowing me to continue to coach. It's something that I want to do and continue until I can't do anymore. It's just, beyond the playing days, it's something that I enjoy, just seeing kids grow each and every day and just having that impact beyond just playing days. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Our next inductee from the class of 1979 is Craig Keller. Craig was a two-sport athlete for the Garfield Griffins when he participated in both soccer and baseball under the direction of fellow Hall of Fame member Aaron Scheckman. Craig started for 2 years on the Garfield soccer team. He also manned the right side of the infield playing second base for the Griffins. Craig was an all-GMC selection in both sports his senior year and served as co-captain on the soccer team his junior and senior year. Craig attended Louisiana Baptist University, where he earned a Bachelor of Applied Science. He also holds degrees in religion and theology from Andersonville Theological Seminary. Craig has spent many years in sports, serving as the sports editor for the Hamilton and Fairfield Sun newspapers, as well as serving as an assistant baseball coach at Hamilton with fellow Hall of Fame member Tim Reed. Craig is also a member of the Fairfield City Council, where he will be serving as vice mayor this year. Craig is employed as a bailiff and courtroom manager for the Butler County Common Police Court. He and his wife Sandy live in Fairfield and have 2 daughters, Christy Keller Harden and Rachel Keller Conley, and 3 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1979, Craig Keller.
Tyler said he had some jokes about the politician, but he didn't get those out today. So, like you said, maybe he's going to save them later. Thank you, Tyler. Just one quick correction, because I'll be thanking some coaches. I actually played Ford Sports my last year. They played basketball all 3 years, and then ran track when I didn't play baseball. So I'm going to be thanking some coaches, so it may be a little confusing when I'm mentioning those coaches. First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord for everything. Any gift that I have, it's due to Him, and I appreciate the blessing from Him. Wanted to dedicate this night to my father, Carl Keller. He died 15 years ago, and growing up, he was my biggest fan, along with my mom, of course. But he pushed me. I was a little smaller in stature, as you can see. He gave me mental toughness, taught me team play, and just aggressiveness. He would have loved this tonight if he could have been here tonight. So I want to honor him tonight with that. I'm honored and humbled to be here. This is just a very nice award to receive. I appreciate it very much. I thank the committee, the selection committee. I also want to thank Jack Young especially for this, and also Jack Garrettson. I don't believe Jack is here tonight, but I know that he wrote a letter on my behalf, and I really appreciate that. We really appreciate this. This was a great weekend for us inductees, so I really appreciate Tyler and the whole selection committee for what they've done. It's a great weekend for us, and we really appreciate the hard work that you do. I want to congratulate all of my fellow inductees tonight. You're all deserving of this honor. I'm very honored to be inducted with one of my favorite coaches from high school, Coach Aaron Scheckman, and also one of my friends, Joe Ballou. I'm also proud to join my childhood friend and teammate, Robbie Cobb, my brother-in-law, Dale Work, my boss, Judge Charles Pater, and fellow coach, Tim Reed, who are already in the Hall of Fame. So I'm very proud to be able to be in the Hall of Fame with them. I mentioned Coach Scheckman earlier, and Coach will probably tell you, back then soccer was fairly new in high school, and we were pretty green when we started. And what we lacked, he'd always told us what we lacked in skill, we would make up for in endurance. So we certainly ran a lot of laps and ran around the field quite a bit. I never had to worry about being in shape for basketball tryouts, that's for sure. I have some thank yous here. Again, I mentioned my parents earlier. I want to thank them for all that they did for me. I'm fortunate to have such good parents. They took me to practices, as all of us will probably say. They took us to practices, games. They were always there for me, so I was very fortunate to have such good parents. I want to recognize some of my family and friends who are here tonight. A woman I met when we were in second grade, and the love of my life, a wife of 36 years, my wife, Sandy. Thank you for everything. Thanks. My children are here tonight, Christy and her husband, Steve, and my grandsons, Caleb and Jacob. Caleb is coming up through the ranks here, and he's a pretty good athlete in soccer and baseball, so I hope to see him starting for Big Blue here in a few years. My daughter, Rachel, her husband, Jordan, and my grandson, Cruz, and baby boy, Conley, that's unnamed right now, who's coming in June. We're excited about that. My older sister, Kim, and fellow Hall of Famer and son-in-law, brother-in-law, Dale, their son and my nephew, Derek, and his wife, Sarah. My older brother, you see I emphasize older, even though they look younger than me, I like to emphasize they're older, Dennis, and his wife, Teresa. And I just wanted to say a little note about my brother, Dennis. Very fortunate to have an older brother, as most of you, if you have older brothers, they really get you prepared for life. They get you prepared for sports, particularly. He was a lot bigger than me. I appreciate all the tackles and the fighting and the tumbling, and especially appreciate you knocking my tooth out on the concrete, shooting a rubber arrow into my eye. That was a pleasure getting that out. But anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you for toughening me up and getting me ready for sports. My Uncle Mike and Aunt Bert are here. My brother-in-law, Bob Hill, who was a tremendous football player at Garfield in his own right, and my boss and fellow Hall of Famer, Judge Charles Pater. Also, my good friends, Dave and Monica Dennett. You can't make it into the Hall of Fame without good teammates, and I had some great teammates to make me better. We had a great team in '79. I wish we would have won the state that year. We came up a little short. We won the sectionals. We won the districts. We went in and won the first game of the regionals, lost our second game to Elder, who we were waiting for all year. But we came up a little short, but we sure wanted to get that banner for Garfield and for Hamilton. I thank them. I also, the same is true about the coaches. I want to thank them for all of their help during my time playing sports in high school. One person I'd like to mention who really wasn't a coach, he was a gym teacher. He's not here tonight. I know last night he was at the basketball game. But many of you probably know him that are in the system, but Steve Thor. Steve Thor was a gym teacher at Pierce, and he set up the foundation really for a lot of us athletes coming through Lindenwold. He did quite a bit for us. He exposed us to various sports. He had intramural leagues for us, softball, basketball, hockey, gym hockey. He even set up an Olympics for us at one point. He spent time teaching us the game and getting some of the fundamentals down pat. I really appreciate that. I want to thank Coach Tim Reed and Dan Bowling for allowing me to coach JV baseball alongside Coach Reed. I enjoyed those 3 years with you, Coach. I see you back there in the back. I appreciate that. I also appreciate you always having Jimmy Joe around. I appreciate him and Turco running over to McDonald's for us at practice and at games, getting those Big Macs for us. I appreciate that. Also, I appreciate Jimmy Joe keeping me awake on the bus when we had those road games, so I wasn't snoring on the way back. I appreciate him not letting me embarrass myself. Also, it's a joy if many of you out here are coaches, and I still enjoy hearing from former players that I had being called coach. It's just a joy to see kids that you haven't has been out of school for several years, and they still call you coach. And you can tell you're getting old when one of your former players that lived down the street from you had noticed about a month ago that an ambulance came down and stopped close to my house, and he called me up and asked me, Coach, are you okay? I know at your age, I want to make sure you're okay. That was Matt Davidson. Anyway, I want to thank other coaches that I had through the past that helped me become a decent ball player. Dan Brandenburg at George Washington, Burt Pringle, my baseball coach, Aaron Scheckman, of course, who I mentioned earlier, was my soccer coach. And as I mentioned before, I played basketball under Jerry Scrivener, John Burns, and Don Gillespie, and I thank you for your leadership. In track, I had Milo Macco and Dave Churchman. I appreciate their leadership as well. Wanted to mention some of my coaches that were not in the high school or junior high system, but in Babe Ruth, Norman Settle, who was a great Babe Ruth coach, taught us a lot of fundamentals, and was well liked by our team. Vince Walters and Ray Nickteen from AABC ball. Now, many of you know that name, Ray Nickteen. Enjoyed playing on that team for a couple of years. Bob Scott from the Scotsman. I know Jerry was on that team later. I think you came on a year after me, Jerry, didn't you? Great coach, Bob Scott, and I know he's been gone several years, but was a great leader, learned a lot from him, and I really appreciated him. One other person I wanted to mention that wasn't a coach, and I'll wrap this up. I considered him kind of a sideline coach, and many of you know him, I know, here, and I think he's a member of the committee, if I'm not mistaken, is John Ross. You know him as JR. He was our trainer and teacher at Garfield when I was there. But JR was always there for us. We could talk to him, he would encourage us, and he was like having another coach on the sideline. So JR, I appreciate you very much for those years. Again, I wanted to thank the committee for this wonderful weekend that we have. Appreciate it very much. I'm very, very honored, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Craig. And also, if on your bingo card you had politician goes over time limit, circle gets the square, right? He told me I could say that. It's fine. We checked it out. I think I pay taxes in Fairfield. I should probably watch my mouth before I say stuff like this. One of these days. You notice I only say it to the guys who are shorter than me. The guys who come up here that are like former football players and stuff, nice and easy on them. For our next inductee from the class of 1951 is Gerald Dip King. Gerald, or Dip as he was commonly known, was a key member on the Big Blue basketball team where he served as team captain during his senior year. Dip was awarded honorable mention on the AP All-Ohio team and earned a spot on the third All-Ohio team in the UP selections. Dip's leadership was instrumental in the Big Blues' success of 1951 as he helped guide them to Southern Ohio League championships, district champions, regional champions, and state runner-up titles. Upon graduating, Dip attended Davidson College to play basketball, where he earned Player of the Week honors several times. After playing his freshman and sophomore seasons, he completed his military service at Fort Lee, Virginia from 1953 to 1955. When he returned to Hamilton, Dip took a position in the payroll accounting department at Fisher Body. Dip continued to play basketball competitively as well as referee basketball until he passed away suddenly while playing in a game for the St. Mark's Church team. He is survived by his wife, Pat King, and daughters, Jennifer and Kelly, and here tonight to speak on behalf of the family is his wife, Pat King.
Well, thank you. Jerry would have been very proud of this and humbled at the same time. He never really talked about, in fact, I've learned a lot from this, of researching some of the things he did, because he never really talked about it. I knew he played basketball, I knew what teams he played for, but I didn't know any of the stats. I wasn't going to start with this, but after last night, when we were all together, I had a lot of people saying, "What's with Dip? Where did that come from?" And I said, I really don't know for sure. I always thought it was because he dipped the ball into the basket. I prefer to think of that as, instead of some people saying that, I don't even know what this stuff is called, that you, it's like tobacco or something that you dip. I know that wasn't what it came from. The name Dips stuck with him all through his life. And when we got married, the next day we got on a plane to go on our honeymoon. And as we're walking down the aisleway of the plane, I hear somebody in the back of the plane going, "Hey, Dip!" And I turned to him and I said, "Is there anybody who calls you Jerry besides me?" And he said, "Not if they're from Hamilton." All these things that happened in high school, I didn't even know him then. But I have, learned a lot about it. I know he loved his school. I know he loved his hometown of Hamilton. And I know he loved playing basketball. He literally played it to the day he died. To be a good player, I think you have to love the game. You have to have some skills. But you need to have some other characteristics, because a lot of other people have that. To be beyond just a good player, you need to be able to work hard and put a lot of effort into it. You need to be always trying your best. And you need to help others, whether it be people on your team or kids that you can help. When he got cut from the team when he was a sophomore, or didn't make the team, a lot of people would have given up. But he went to the Y, and he played at the Y, and he worked with some of the kids that would be there at the Y. And he was noticed by some of the coaches and the people that were at the Y, who talked to them at the high school and said, "I think maybe you might have made a mistake here. I think you might want this guy on your team." And he did make the team then. And he was there in his senior year when they went to state. I've used this with my own girls, which they've heard quite a few times, who tried out for different things. And my one daughter was a cheerleader all the way through into her senior year. And she was, of course, distraught that she didn't make it her senior year. And we talked about her dad, and she said, "I know the story, Mom. I've heard this story before." But she did. She just went on and found something else. She went into swimming and focused on her swimming and things like that. So even though Jerry was not around for this, his values were there. He would be honored tonight. I'm happy to be standing here and so proud of him. And I'm probably the only person here that will be talking and staying under the 3-minute limit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat, for being here with us and sharing that story. Our next inductee from the class of 2003 is Nate Mahan. He's quick. Got up here quickly. Nate was a two-sport player at Hamilton, playing football for fellow Hall of Fame member Coach Ed Minery and baseball for fellow Hall of Famer Coach Dan Bowling. During his athletic career, Nate earned 7 varsity letters in both sports and was selected 5 times to the All-GMC team in either football or baseball. During his baseball career, Nate was selected as the top offensive player 2 times, served as team captain his senior year, and also received the Scholar Athlete Award. He helped spur the Big Blue through an impressive tournament run in 2001 where they were crowned state semifinalists. On the gridiron, Nate anchored the Big Blue defense from the linebacker position where he led the team in tackles both his junior and senior seasons. He also served as team captain his senior year. Nate also appeared in the East-West All-Star Game. After graduating from Hamilton, Nate attended Georgetown College, where he played both baseball and football, earning the title of 2004 Mid-South Conference Freshman Baseball Player of the Year. He then transferred to Miami University, smart decision, to play football, where he moved from walk-on status to scholarship athlete. Nate is currently an assistant principal and head football coach at Little Miami High School. He and his wife Janine live in Maineville with their 3 children, Roman, Kennedy, and Lucas. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 2003, Nate Mahan. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to first say congratulations to my fellow inductees. It is truly a great honor to be here and a fabulous weekend. Thank you to my family and friends for being here to support me. I'm a little nervous about table 4. If you see them out gallivanting the town tonight, they're not my friends. I want to specifically thank my wife, Janine, who is not only a great wife and mother of our 3 children, but was also a great athlete in her own right. Thank you for always supporting me, following me through my crazy endeavors. You are the perfect partner, and I love you very much. I'd also like to thank 2 people who are no longer with us tonight. My grandfathers, Nick Mouse and Arthur Mahan, whose love of sport and competition continues to be passed down from generation to generation. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for my nomination. Taft, Garfield, and Hamilton High School have a rich tradition of history of tremendous athletics. I am absolutely humbled and honored to be here tonight and be a part of that history. One of my favorite performers, the great Kenny Chesney, once said, "Music and sports are the 2 greatest things that bring people together." That is evident in this room tonight. The amount of tradition and love for Big Blue athletics that is in this room is nothing short of awesome. Friday, October 10th, 1997, my dad took my brothers and I to a jam-packed Virgil Schwarm Stadium, Coach Minery. We watched the undefeated Big Blue football team play host to the Coleraine Cardinals. Hamilton beat Coleraine 37-21 to remain undefeated en route to the 10-0 season. Earlier that spring, 1997, I distinctly remember sitting in the car with my dad in the parking lot of Westside Little League. I was a 12-year-old All-Star that year. We were listening to the radio as Hamilton scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th to beat Toledo's start for the state title. Both of those memories are still so vivid to me. Those players and coaches were larger than life to me. I knew in those 2 moments I wanted to be and to feel what those Big Blue players were feeling. I knew I wanted to play for Hamilton. I didn't know it at the time, but 4 years later, in 2001, I'm batting third for Hamilton and Coach Bowling in the state semifinals against Dublin Kaufman. That same year in the fall, 2001, my older brother Nick, who was playing quarterback, and my younger brother Chris was our ball boy on the sideline, and I got to start at middle linebacker for that same Hamilton Big Blue team and that same Coach Minery versus the same Coleraine Cardinals in the Division I playoffs. That's the tradition I got to play for. Those are some of my greatest memories. Standing here tonight not only brings back a lot of memories, but also makes me realize, obviously, what a journey it's been for all of us, all those inductees. In addition, I realized that life is truly about people and relationships, and those people and relationships have allowed me to be here tonight. It's very similar to being on a good team. And I know everyone says it, but it's true. The better a team is, the more recognition the individuals get. Over the past few months and reflected upon my playing career, I've noticed that I've been fortunate to always be on a good team and surrounded by those great people. So tonight, for the next couple minutes, again, I want to honor my team of family members, players, coaches, and friends that have helped me and continue to help me throughout those 32 years. Growing up in Hamilton in a family of 7, the days were simple. We ate breakfast together. We played outside all day, typically competed in everything that we did, always deciding a very clear-cut winner and loser. Typically got mad and challenged that result every time. We ate mom's dinner. We loved each other at the end of the day, and we got up the next day and did it all over again. And it didn't matter if you were a boy or a girl. Your sisters wanted to beat you just as bad as your brothers. That everyday competition made me better. It made us all better. The thing that sticks out to me the most is that we always supported each other and that there was no other option. Some of my greatest memories of our childhood are being at games and watching my brothers and sisters compete and play and being their number 1 fan. Our childhood was wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Allie, Mimi, Nick, and Chris, thank you. As a football coach today, I constantly tell my players that nothing in life worth doing is ever easy. As many athletes have to do, overcome adversity is challenging. My adversity came early on. As an 8th grader, I tore my ACL and broke my leg playing basketball of all sports. As a side note, I'm probably the worst basketball player in my family. I think I'm good though. With that injury came surgery and physical therapy, which as a 14-year-old is obviously difficult. I think back and can't count how many days, weeks, and months that my dad picked me up from school. We drove to Oxford Physical Therapy, and then back home. I didn't at the time, but I appreciate now the energy and sacrifice that he had to make in order to get me the treatment I needed. There was 4 other kids to take care of, and being able to get the job done had to be a tall task, but he's always been the man for the job. Thank you, Dad. My mom has taught me that being there for your children is the absolutely most important thing. Very simply, she's our foundation, extremely overprotective, and our #1 fan. I can't remember a time when my mom and dad weren't at a game, at a school function, you name it, they were always there. As a family, I mentioned earlier, we ate breakfast together, we ate dinner together, Nick and I rode to school together, we did everything together. And I think that's something that gets lost nowadays. Looking back, it was absolutely perfect. Thank you, Mom and Dad, I love you. I'm always honored to be on your team. As a high school coach today, I'm beginning to realize the hardest thing in sports is sustained winning. It's easy to have a few good players, one good season, but it's extremely difficult to have sustained success. I was blessed to have played for some Hall of Fame coaches. I feel like I came along at the right time. Coach Dan Bowling, Coach Ed Minery were 2 of the very best I've ever had. Shane Montgomery for rewarding me with a scholarship after walking on and taking a chance with Miami, Ohio football. Coach Joey Lewis, Coach Danny Reed, Coach Tim Reed, Coach Roy Toby, and Bob Young were great Hamilton assistant coaches at the time. 4 years of varsity football and 3 years of varsity baseball with those great guys. I was very lucky. We had the perfect mix of great players and coaches as well. I remember thinking of how much fun it was to be with my teammates and play for the Hamilton tradition. We always played in front of big crowds with high stakes on the line, sometimes yelled at the GCL opponents. I think the thing that separated us from other teams was our nastiness and our desire to win. Names like Boyd, Weigel, Whipple, Mahan, Trester, Begley, Burke, Watkins, Nance, Gedling, Poland, etc. Those teammates were nasty, and we wanted to win. And we wanted to win at all costs. We had fun, and we were good. And I loved every minute of it. If it weren't for them and the great team people around me, I wouldn't have had the opportunities I've had. I've had a lot of great coaches, team members, and support. The best compliment and thank you that I can give to them can be illustrated through my last thought, because this is what I've learned the most along the way. When I reflect back over the last couple months, after getting the call from Tyler, I reflect back upon playing football and baseball at Hamilton High School, Georgetown College, and Miami University. I remember distinctly being in the locker room after the 2007 MAC East Championship game that we lost in Detroit. We had just lost. I knew it was probably my last competitive game. I remember thinking about injuries, taking chances, highs and lows, and challenges that I had faced. And I remember distinctly a sense of fulfillment coming over me. And I was okay that it was my last game because I didn't regret anything. I think that's what I'm most proud of, the highs and lows, but I'm most proud of taking chances, laying it on the line through good and bad, finishing a commitment, and seeing things through. That's what defines me. That's what I'm most proud of. I'm very proud to be from Hamilton, and go Big Blue.
All right, thank you, Nate. Our next inductee from the class of 1967 is Gary Musselman. Gary played 3 sports for the Griffins, competing in football, basketball, and baseball. On the football field, under the direction of Hall of Fame coach Lou Florio, Gary helped lift the Griffins to a perfect 9-0 record in 1966. During that season, he was recognized with the Most Efficient Running Back Award. In his career, Gary rushed for 9 career touchdowns and 8 conversions. He remains 13th in career scoring for Garfield. He's also tied with holding the longest run on a kickoff in Garfield history with a 97-yard return. How about that? Versus Fairfield in 1966. And the second longest punt return for 86 yards, a measly 86 yards after that 97-yard run back, right? That was also versus Franklin in 1965. Gary attended Morehead State University, but suffered a career-ending knee injury while there. Upon returning to Hamilton, Gary was accepted into the local Union 648 apprenticeship program. He worked as a union electrician for over 26 years. He also worked as a superintendent for, is it BLACON or? Blacon, thank you very much. Blacon Industries. Gary is a 2011 inductee into the Butler County Softball Hall of Fame. He lives in Hamilton with his wife Doris, and they have 3 children, Chris, Dusty, and Mitch. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1967, Gary Musselman.
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is look behind this curtain and see how big this guy is. But I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor, and it is a great honor, and also my fellow inductees. It's a good group of guys, and glad to be here with them. But I didn't know when I first went out for football. I really didn't go out. I didn't think I was big enough. 5'8", 165 pounds, playing for Division I school, and the competitive edge in Hamilton was tremendous. Taft was tremendous. We were huge and everything. So it was quite an honor. They finally talked me into going out, but it was a little talking to do it, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. So a lot of friends. One thing you do with sports is you bond. We have tremendous athletes. I mean, our undefeated season was unbelievable. I was thinking the other day about all the positions, and I don't think we had a weak position on that team. We had, our senior year was 3 shutouts, and I think 5 games where we only scored 8 points, and one more that scored 6. We have state records for the defensive end, but then again, if you looked at our team, our tackles were 6'3", 280, 6'5", 285, and the running backs and everybody were just tremendous, and the GOL league was tremendous, probably the best in the state, more likely. Every team we played was a battle, real battle, because Middletown and Springfield South and Lima, all of them were good, every one of them. So it was good, and a lot of my athlete friends are here. I know Pete Sherman's here and Tim Taylor, and the guys that I mean, we grew because the juniors and the seniors. It wasn't just a senior-oriented team. If we didn't have the juniors, we probably wouldn't have been undefeated. Charlie Pater's here, and Bob Hill's here, and just tremendous. I want to introduce my table, which my lovely wife Doris, and my son Mitch, and my granddaughter Micaiah, and Kenny and Donna Noel, brother and sister-in-law, and even Jerry and Angie are in-laws too. So, and so we had, but I want to go back to my coaches. I don't think they get enough credit for what they do, and in football, we had a tremendous amount. Quite a few of them have passed away, but they were there for us. They were mentors. It was more than just playing the sport. They taught us a lot. So, and I did play under Lou Florio and Jim Truitt and Demas Jones, and one of my inductees, Aaron Scheckman, and he got to take the ride with us that senior year, so it was very nice. And then we've had a few pass on, which was Chuck Tibergen and Demery Smith and Carl Perano. I hope I haven't missed anybody, but I know they're looking down on us and everything. So And I know my parents are. They've died. My dad died in 15, and my mom just passed away in 17. And I know they're looking down because I know my dad never missed a game. Mom didn't like me playing football, but she'd come to the home games, none of the away games. So, but I want to introduce my breakfast group over here. The only reason they're in the corner is because they can't have seats outside that window. But I've got Steve Fisher, 66 graduate, played offensive end and did all the kicking for us. And then Gary Kraft, I think he's the pioneer of Hamilton myself. He knows about everybody. And he went to Taft, and we're good friends. And then I have Mike Snyder and Don Zimmer and Gary Grandma. And I'm glad to be their friends. We meet every Wednesday at Bob Evans, and every once in a while they'll buy your breakfast for you. Every once in a while. So, but no, it's a good group and good friends. Okay, and then at this table here, I've got the softball Hall of Fame guys, John Spears and Don Beckett. And I know George Mauritian's here and Dale Work. And I go to lunch with these guys, and I know they ain't buying. But good group. I mean, the more friends you got, the better off you are. So it is very, very nice to have friends like that. So I just, again, would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor, and it is quite an honor because there's so many athletes that's come through this hall, and I mean tremendous. I mean, basketball, and in basketball I had Mr. Jack Young. He coached us for 2 years, our sophomore and junior years, and Mr. Young can tell you the talent that went through that gymnasium was tremendous, with the Townsend boys and the Sutton boys and Bill Hibbard and Danny Messel and guys like that. It was just tremendous. I was fortunate enough to be able to be a part of that. So again, I want to thank everybody and thank the committee.
Gary, I'm going to do you a solid right now. Where's that breakfast group? In front of 200 people, I want you all to commit and swear that you will buy this man breakfast next week for getting in the Hall of Fame. Is that a deal? I think so, right? Right? Get the man a free breakfast at Bob Evans. Come on, folks. Yeah. They're going to back out. I can see it already. I can see it already. Thank you, Gary. Our next inductee from the class of 1987 is Donnie Riggins. Donnie was a defensive specialist on the Big Blue basketball team. His leadership was integral in the team's success as he served as team captain both his junior and senior seasons, helping guide the Big Blue to back-to-back GMC championships. Playing for Hall of Fame coach John Smith, Donnie was awarded the distinction of Top Defensive Player of the Year both his junior and senior seasons. He also received all GMC recognition during these 2 years. Donnie ranks 35th in career scoring at Big Blue with 451 points. He then went on to St. Joseph's College to play basketball. While playing for the Pumas, he served as team captain for 2 seasons and also showed off his defensive skills, earning a Top Defensive Player award twice. Donnie earned a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. He lives in, is it Altamonte Springs? Am I saying that? Altamont Springs, Florida, with his wife Jennifer and their daughter Mackenzie. Donnie is employed as a police lieutenant for the city of Altamont Springs. I got some parking tickets up here. Can you help me get rid of that? You got any jurisdiction up this way? No, you have not. Well, if I ever go to Florida, I know who to call, right? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1987, Donnie Riggins.
I was praying that he wasn't going to mention scoring statistics. I'm glad the first inductee, Billy Allen, emphasized that it's not all about scoring. because I didn't do much of that. I played with Norm Greavy. And by the time Norm decided to pass the ball, there was usually no more time left on the clock. When I first got the call about the Hall of Fame from Mr. George Johnson, I thought he was looking for my brother Mo. I said, this poor guy, he forgot he inducted Mo last season or last year. And he's dialed the wrong number. And he said, no, Donnie, I'm looking for you. You've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it came as a complete shock. My background, unfortunately, is not much different than a lot of other teenagers who grew up in the inner city. A single parent home, single mom who worked multiple jobs, minimum wage jobs, menial jobs, the kind that you and I might scoff at today. But she did it to feed her family, to get us shoes so that we could play the game that we loved so much. Mom, thank you so much for your sacrifice, and I love you. But if you know anything about raising a teenager in the inner city, you know that it truly does take a village. And I was fortunate to be surrounded by some really great friends. I know you don't know any of them, but I'm going to mention their names anyway. David Carter and the Carter family. Perry Shazier and the Shazier family. Rick Phillips and the Phillips family. Juan Gilbert and the Gilbert family. These were some great guys. You want to be good, you surround yourself with good people. You want to be great, you surround yourself with great people. But when you talk about outside influences or influences outside of the immediate family, one man stood above all others. When I first met Coach John Smith, I thought he was insane. Now, I don't mean the insane like angry at your teenager for crashing the car insane. I mean like mental hospital white jacket insane. I know he likes to tell his story sometimes. He's mentioned it to me, reminded me of it a few times, how me and a teammate of mine, we boycotted practice my sophomore season because, well, we weren't going to stand for the inhumane treatment of the players. I mean, what sane man yells that much? But what we didn't understand then, what we never recognized, was not anger. It was passion. Passion for the game of basketball and passion for the young men and that he taught it to. I'll sum up your understanding of John Smith by telling you guys my story. My senior season was supposed to be my breakout season. I mean, after all, my junior year, I played with Norm Greavy. I'll remind you guys of that. My senior year was the year I was supposed to earn all the scholarships and get an opportunity to play ball in college. And I remember Coach John Smith called me in the office one day, and he wanted to inform me that one of our taller players had quit the team. And he wanted to tell me that, well, Donnie, I'm going to need you to play in the post. And I could see the pain in his eyes. But I knew that, he knew like I did that by playing in the post, it was going to cost me an opportunity. There just weren't many colleges looking for a 6'3", 6'4" center. So it was going to be extremely difficult. But he managed to find the one college that would give me an opportunity to play ball. And he did it. So I went to St. Joseph's College, and it was my first time being away from home, and I dropped out of school. I came home, and me and my brother Mo were working in a factory building crates, and a Friday afternoon I got a call, and it was Coach John Smith. And he said, hey, what is your plan? If you're not going to attend college, what is your plan for success? And I didn't have one, so he found one for me. This was a Friday afternoon, and on Monday, I was back in class at St. Joe. Now, I don't know what magic he pulled and how he pulled this off, but I sat and I pondered in class. Why? Why still be involved? You fulfilled your obligation. You saw that I had a successful high school basketball career. You saw that I graduated. Why? But it dawned on me that this man with this huge heart, he didn't just teach basketball, he taught life. And that education extended well beyond high school. You know, I'm glad some of the other guys got emotional before I got up here because I didn't want to be the first guy to cry. But you talk about an important person. A man that has meant so much in my life. John Smith, I love you. Thank you. Thank you to Hamilton High School for this great opportunity. I appreciate it, and I will be forever grateful.
Thank you, Donnie. And Donnie, in case I stepped on your applause a moment ago, and I think I might have, I want to take a moment to give everybody else an opportunity to do it again. I want to thank you for your service as a police officer. It is a thankless job oftentimes, especially these times. But know on behalf of your hometown and this entire city, we are always thankful and always grateful. Our next inductee from the class of 1960 is Aaron Scheckman. I want to know one thing right now before I read your bio, Mr. Scheckman. How much did you pay these people to wear these t-shirts and get these cutouts of your face back there? And can I bribe them to do the same for me? That's quite the fan base. I hope they come cheap. In a unique way, Aaron played football for both Hamilton High and Taft High School. Playing for fellow Hall of Famer Coach Lou Florio, Aaron helped to anchor the offensive line. He was selected to the first team All-Greater Ohio League and received All-State Honorable Mention. At the Taft football banquet, Aaron was given the Offensive Lineman of the Year award in 1959. He then attended Bowling Green State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Education and Counseling and served as an undergraduate assistant coach after suffering an injury his freshman year. Aaron returned to Hamilton and worked as a guidance counselor. During his time, Aaron was deeply involved in athletics, coaching the soccer programs at both Garfield and HHS. He won the GMC Championship in 1985, as well as Coach of the Year recognition. During his coaching tenure, he recorded over 100 victories. He also spent many years assisting athletics in the district with different tasks. Aaron lives in Loveland with his wife, Stephanie, and they have 3 children, Alan, Joel, and Michelle. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1960, Aaron Scheckman. Congratulations, sir.
Well, all I have to say is it's pretty hard to outdo some of the speeches that we already heard, especially the last one. I really believe in what you had to say. It means a lot to me in many ways as a coach, because I know I received a couple phone calls today, one this morning that kind of touched me the same way you touched somebody out there tonight. So I appreciate what you had to say. I appreciate how you said it to this audience. It means so much to a coach that players, the impression we make on players. At this time, though, I would like to say a few things in reference to the being honored here tonight. It is an honor. It is a privilege to be here. And when I look around or look back through that book and see such names as Joe Nuxall, the Greavy family, as we just mentioned, Mark Lewis, Aaron Cook, Robbie Cobb, and some of these names, and some great coaches that have been honored in this hall. And the list is endless of great players that have come out of the Hamilton High School and coaches out of this district. And to be a part of this elite group, I'm so proud to be here tonight. I would like to thank the committee, Todd and Tyler and your committee for electing me to be a part of this great opportunity. Also for you inductees, I congratulate all of you. It's nice to know that a couple of you gentlemen I coached personally, and the words you said even tonight touched me also. So thank you again in that respect. I'd like to continue here in talking about some of the mentors that helped me achieve this goal and obtain this honor tonight. At Bowling Green, I had the great honor to work with Dwight Perry for 2 years and watch the Bowling Green football team win a couple championships up there. And just the advice and help that he offered me was just unbelievable. I also appreciate the gentleman I played for, Lou Florio, who's also a member of this organization. And I played for him. I coached for him for 17 years. And he was just a great mentor. Also, there's other people who I worked with in the program, in their programs, such as Don Gillespie, Larry Allen, again, Mr. Smith, John Smith, and a few other people, Jerry Scribner and Bill Dinger. These gentlemen have given their souls to coaching. And through them, both as an educator and as a coach, I learned many things, and that's the reason I feel that I'm here tonight. Also, I would like to thank all my friends for being here tonight. My son is a real go-getter and wanted me to have a perfect weekend, and I do thank all of you for being here. I know it might be just a little longer than you want to sit, but thank you for coming, and I enjoy having you here tonight to celebrate this wonderful evening with me. I also like to mention a gentleman who is deceased, who helped our program. He orchestrated building the field house on Mark Avenue, where our young athletes practiced. And his name was Jerry Hammonds. He was an architect here in Hamilton for many years. And Jerry, one day I went to him and I said, we need an athletic field. If we're going to have a soccer program, we got to have a place where we can put some names up on a wall and where we can really be appreciative of what we have and develop a program that's the best in the state. And he says, you'll have one. You'll have one before you know about it. And yes, we did. We had a beautiful a little field house built out there. And on those walls, after a couple of years, in 1985, we were the GMC champs with an 18-win, 5 ties, and 1 loss in the district tournament. And that team was Centerville, who went on to be the district runners, or the state runners-up. And tonight, there are quite a few of my athletes that I coached at that time that are here tonight. I thank you for being here. You represent a great group of young men. I know that from other areas that I coach, such as football, and I also worked as a statistician for 30 years. I thank you gentlemen who come up to the table and I would say get in there and do your best, and they say sure. And so I thank you gentlemen. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit about the legacy of the Scheckman family in the city of Hamilton and in the Hamilton public school system. My family has lived here almost 100 years. My father played football for Hamilton High Big Blue in the early 30s. I played for Hamilton and Taft in the late 50s. My son, Alan Scheckman, who got sick with the flu 2 days ago, so couldn't be here tonight, played soccer for me and also played tennis for Hamilton High. He's also a college referee and a semi-pro referee at this time in his life. My other son, who, if you wanted any ideas of how to cheer up a group, he's the guy to go to with these signs and so forth. He's here with his wife, Trish, Joel Scheckman. And Joel played on that 1985 team. And also, he was a diver for Hamilton High. My daughter couldn't be here also. She's from California, just got back from India on a work experience. So she was a cheerleader for Hamilton High. And to all three of my children and my family as a whole, we appreciate everything that Hamilton has done for us, and especially the Hamilton Public School System. I have the one outstanding supporter and booster. She's number one, and that's my wife. For 38 years, she's been behind me 100%. Coming home late for meals, and I'd call up and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to come home late, but I still always had a warm meal. Games that we would play on nights like tonight, and it would be pouring down raining, it would be sleeting. I'd look up in the stands, and there was my Stephanie. And come home that night, be crabby or something, and for some reason she would say, there's always tomorrow. There's ways to improve. So to my number one supporter, Stephanie, thank you for 38 years of putting up with my coaching career. I think it's been great. It's been a great run with you in it. And we look forward to seeing many games at Hamilton High in many other ways as just fans now. But thank you very much. And in closing, I would like to say one last thing, and it was said here earlier. Probably one of the greatest things that happens to me when I walk the streets or I'm in the community of Hamilton or any place, and I hear one of my past athletes say to me, hey, coach, hi, coach, and it's so nice. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Coach Scheckman. And just in case you were keeping track, I believe all 10 of our male inductees tonight were smart enough and remembered to thank their wives. So there will be no divorces as a result of this year's Hall of Fame banquet. We're so appreciative for that. There's usually always one, and I'm always watching his wife just sitting there rocking, fuming the entire time waiting on it. But not this year. Our final inductee from the class of 1983 is Annette Smiley Manley. Annette, you get all the glory representing the entire female contingent tonight. How about that? Annette participated in both basketball and track and field for the Big Blue. Playing with fellow Hall of Fame members Barb Hurley and Mary Ellen Menzer, Annette helped guide the team to an 18-6 record. The team captured the GMC championship and finished as district runner-ups. Annette was the team's leading scorer her senior year, contributing 714 points. She earned several recognitions, including First Team GMC, GMC Player of the Year, Golden Triangle Player of the Year, First Team District 15, Honorable Mention All-State, and AP-UPI All-State Second Team. She was also selected to participate in the North-South All-Star Game. She then continued her basketball career at St. Mary of the Plains College. Annette lives in Hamilton and has 2 children, Mercury and Philip. She is employed as a manufacturing technician for the Ford Motor Company. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1983, Annette Smiley Manley.
Good evening, and it's been a long evening, so I'm not going to stay up here very long. I was here a couple years ago, nominated for my sister Dorothy. She couldn't make it. She lives in Denver, and And I was pretty nervous, which I am today, I guess, but just want to thank the committee for nominating me for this award, which I believe that was 2003 when she was nominated, and I always had a feeling I would be up here someday. I was hoping I would, and I didn't think it would take this long, but I'm glad to be here. I started playing basketball in 8th grade at Roosevelt Junior High School, and I think it was, like I said, the 8th grade, and my gym teacher, Mr. Mills, he told me that I should go out for basketball, and I went out that year, and I believe I came off the bench. I wasn't very good that year, but that summer I worked very hard. I played in the neighborhood with girls and boys, either one, it didn't matter, and came back my 9th grade year, and I had to say I think I was a beast, and from that time on, I think I started from then on. I continued to play ball with my kids while they were growing up. So my son, Mercury, my daughter, Mercury, and my son, Philip, and my grandson's here also back there, Philip Jr. I played ball with them, like I say, while they were growing up, and to this day, they swear they used to beat me, but I don't remember that. My first coach is in the building today, Melanie Allen, and just want to thank her because I believe I was the only one. I grew up in the projects, a single family mother, and we didn't have a car, and a lot of times I had to walk home. When Melody found that out, she always gave me a ride home, whether she was supposed to or not. She would make sure I got home safe. So I want to thank you for that. I had 2 other coaches in Hamilton. That was Pat Sword and Judy Kraft. And Judy Kraft, we miss her to this day. And I wish she could have been a coach at Hamilton. You all know she went on to Baton to coach, and she was a very good coach. Pat Sword, she hung around a little too long, and we ended up losing her to Baton, but she ended up being a great coach, and she was a great influence in my life, and I miss her very much. One quote I learned from Melanie, I'll leave you all with this. She told me, and I'm sure a lot of people know, she got it from her dad, I heard, and she's told many people over the years. She always told us, the good, better, best, never let it rest. Till your good is better, your better is best. So I'm just thank you for nominating me. And my friend also is here, Larry Harrison. I won't leave him out. And all my fellow inductees. And it's just a great honor to be nominated for this award. And thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have another round of applause for the 2018 class of the Hamilton Athletic Hall of Fame. With a member of the Allen family on there, we rented this place out a little longer than we thought we probably needed to. So I got some extra closing remarks. How about that? Larry, do I have your endorsement this year? He's putting his coat on. I'm going to do it anyway. I always try to find a message to leave us with as we leave here tonight, and you've heard so many good stories. I hope you'll allow me to share one more. There's a story from another high school in another state at another time that I really want to leave us with tonight. That story comes from Summerville, Georgia, circa 2008, a story you may have heard before, and that is the story of Louis Mulkey. Aside from his wife, Lauren, Louis Mulkey had 2 things that he loved in this life. He loved his job as a firefighter with the city of Charleston Engine 15, and he loved being a football and basketball coach at Summerville High School. Mulkey was that coach that every single player absolutely loved. The coach who pushed his players, yes, but loved them even harder. The coach who would give his own gas money to players to make sure they got home safely or had full bellies. The coach who, yes, told the 8th grade team that he coached that they would go on to win a state championship in basketball by the time their senior year arrived in 2008. But life And circumstances, as they often do, take unexpected twists and turns. And on a fateful June day in 2007, duty called, and Mulkey responded. A fire broke out at a sofa store in Charleston with enormous flames, a cloud of smoke threatening the Georgia skyline. Mulkey and his compatriots, as only the bravest men and women in our society will do, ran into the flames in an attempt to stop the fire. On that fateful day, 9 firefighters were tragically killed in that blaze. Letting out a final mayday call, Louis Mulkey sent a message to his firefighter brothers over the crackling airwaves of a CB radio. "Tell my wife I said I love you." One day after his first wedding anniversary, Louis Mulkey was gone, one of the 9 firefighters lost in that accident. A family and a community were left devastated with the loss of Mulkey and his 8 fellow firefighters, as were the young men that called him coach. One of those young men, a basketball player named AJ, said, "I couldn't believe it at first. I sat in my room and it hit me and I just started crying." Interestingly enough, that young man, AJ, his last name is Green, the current Bengals wide receiver, AJ Green. Those players in that community had an important decision to make. Do we let the flames of death and grief completely enrapture us? Or do we do what Coach Louis would have wanted us to do? Should we play on? 6 months after Mulkey's death, the team took the court without their coach, but with his mission burning in their heart each and every game. Their coach had predicted a state title, and the boys wanted to deliver on that promise. Even beyond the confines of this life, Coach Mulkey was still coaching. Mulkey was always with that team each and every game. The Charleston Fire Department actually sent a black and gold polished fireman's hat, which traveled with the team and sat on the 4th seat, Coach Mulkey's seat, of the basketball bench each and every game. And for nearly every game, Mulkey's widowed bride, Lauren, sat directly behind the bench, sometimes weeping and sometimes cheering. A 20-3 regular season led that team to the playoffs that Coach Mulkey had always predicted. But in the semifinal game, things got a little tight. In the 4th quarter of the semifinal game, the Somerville Green Wave found themselves losing to their opponents from Sumter High School when, during a timeout, a chant broke out from the student section, many of whom wore black firefighter hats with the initials LM written on the front. The students chanted over and over, "Louis Mulkey, Louis Mulkey," over and over again, with his widow Lauren sitting in the crowd full of love, loss, and longing. The loyal group of supporters chanted the name of their fallen coach. Soon after that chant rang out through the halls of that gymnasium, Somerville grabbed the lead and they never let it go. As Coach Mulkey had predicted, the team was heading to the state final, and they would win that state championship game, but not after a miracle from someone watching over them. Somerville actually led by 2 points with just a few seconds on the clock, and after missing a free throw that could have iced the championship, an opponent from Spartanburg High School threw up a 65-foot Hail Mary shot that miraculously found the bottom of the net. Somerville had lost that game by 1 point. There were players standing on the court wondering how that could have happened. The story was theirs to have, but there was shock and sadness and grief all caught up in that one single moment. But the referees huddled up, as they often do. And on the verge of wondering how that storybook ending could have been taken away, somebody else had a better storybook ending in mind, because after that brief huddle, the referees emerged waving off the 65-foot shot. Time had expired, and the boys from Somerville had done it. The state championship, as Louis Mulkey had predicted many years ago, belonged to the Somerville Green Wave. After lots of victory and celebration, that bus ride home made one final pit stop to the Somerville Cemetery and Mausoleum. The coaches and players, including A.J. Green, all stood around Louis' grave, held hands, said a prayer, and celebrated with their coach, even if a little bit differently than what he had predicted. But a celebration nonetheless. And then a few of those players took their state championship medals from around their necks, laid them on the gravestone of their beloved coach. The Somerville story is one that touches our hearts, but more importantly, it should cause us to think differently about life from this point forward. Whether we realize it or not, we are always, always playing for something bigger each time we step foot on the field or on the court. Yes, there are wins in the record books that have brought you all here tonight, inductees, but I guarantee that it's the character wins that mattered so much more. It's how you treated your classmates that brought you here. It's how you listened to your coaches that brought you here. It's how you've dedicated yourselves to your family, your children, and the community that nurtured you, that brought you here. And we are all thankful that all of those things brought you here with us tonight. Just like Somerville, Georgia is a better community because of men like Louis Mulkey, Hamilton, Ohio is a better community and neighborhood because of each and every one of you who were inducted this evening. You have left a lasting mark on the legacy of our town that still breathes life today. More than a state championship, an all-star selection, or a school ride record, we are grateful for you just being who you are. We thank you for letting us share in this special moment with you and your families. Let this be more than an award to cap off your athletic career. Instead, let this be the catalyst that inspires you to even greater moments ahead. We thank you for attending. We congratulate you on this wonderful honor, and we hope that this evening has been as special for all of you as it has been for us. Thank you again for joining us, and please drive home safely.